Hello. So yeah, it's really early in the morning. Like 4 o'clock-ish, I think. Well, we got up at 4. But I couldn't sleep. I had a bit of a difficult day yesterday. Um, uh, I went out in my wheelchair with my sister. Met up with my sister, so I had to help her with her cat, because her cat's been a bit ill recently, so she had to take the cat to the vet, and she had to find some kind of specialised litter so that she could get a wee sample from the cat. So I had to go and help her with all of that. The cat's fine, by the way. She's much better than she was the other day. She's got to have a few teeth out in a week or so, but other than that, she's fine. But during the day we were travelling on buses, and on one of the buses, now all day it had been happening, like, because I need the ramp out when I get on the bus, and there is certain health and safety protocols that the drivers have to follow in order to use the ramp safely. But it just seemed none of them were following those health and safety rules, and they were pulling up to the stop, and they were either lowering the bus too far, so when they pulled the ramp out, it hit the curb and then kind of stuck up in the air. And I was kind of like, yeah, I can't get on the bus like that. My front wheels are going to hit the edge of that ramp and I'm going to go flying forward out of the chair. And the drivers are sort of like, oh, that's okay, and just stood on the edge of the ramp, on one edge of the ramp, to push it down towards the ground. And of course that made the ramp ski whiff. So I'm trying to drive on the ramp, and when the ramp is ski whiff and the floor underneath the wheelchair is too ski whiff, the wheelchair kind of goes all funny and tries to go in one direction. And the wheelchair, of course, went straight towards the driver. I was trying to steer it back so that I didn't run the driver over, and just ended up with one wheel off of the ramp and being tipped forward. And then my sister had to grab the back of the wheelchair and try and pull it back up and whatnot, and it was just a struggle to get on the bus. And it was either that happening or they pull up to the bus stop and not lower the bus and just get the ramp out, and then the ramp would be too steep. And at one point the ramp was really steep and I was looking at it thinking, I don't know, I might be able to get out of that, I'm not sure. I should have argued with the bus driver, but at the time we were in a bit of a hurry, so I was sort of like, So I drove, my sister said to the driver, I think that might be a bit high. And he was like, nah, it'd be okay. And I went to drive up the ramp and the wheelchair just toppled backwards. And my sister, bless her, grabbed the back of the wheelchair and got between the wheelchair and the ground and kind of got a bit stuck because she didn't want me hitting my head on the ground. And then she was struggling to try and push the wheelchair upright again. And the bus driver just kind of stood there and went, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was just thinking, well, obviously not, mate. And then he decided then it was a good idea to help right me and push the wheelchair up and that. And he was like, "Oh, you can get up there, just push forward." And I said, "I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna go over if I push forward again." And he was like, "No, you'll get up there." And then him and my sister were kind of like holding the back of the wheelchair, and he kept grabbing onto the wheelchair, trying to pull it forward, and grabbing the armrests. And the armrests, it's no good trying to grab them to pull me up or pull the wheelchair up or forward, because they lift. So every time we went to grab that, it lifted. And I thought, like, mate, come on now, use your brain. But we finally got on the bus and that, and I was quite shaken up, to be honest. But then on the way back to my sister's, we got off the bus near my sister's, and then we were on the pavement driving round, and we needed to cross the road to get to hers. And the drop curb wasn't a proper drop curb. It was probably like that off of the ground. Now drop curbs, they're supposed to be flush with the road to make it easier for disabled people or prams to get up and down off of the curb. But this one wasn't flush with the ground, and I thought, yeah, it looks like I'll be able to get down it if I'm careful. And I bumped the front wheels down, and that was it. The whole thing the front wheels hit the road and then threw me forward. And I went forward out of the chair, and the chair come down on top of me, and I banged my knee quite hard on the ground, and I think I hurt my wrist, because my wrist is a bit painful this morning, but my sister helped me again get the wheelchair up and everything. I had to check the wheelchair over because of the control panel hit the ground quite hard as well, but the wheelchair's fine, no damage to that, thank God, but a bit of damage to my knee. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be this morning. Bit of a bruise there. It came up, swelled up like a golf ball there last night, but the swelling seems to have gone down a bit, but it seems to have gone across the knee now this morning. So, and it's a bit painful, but I don't think there's any major damage there. I think it's probably just a bit of bruising and maybe a sprain or whatever. But I think it dislocated when I hit the ground, because when I stood up, it crunched and clicked. You know, which isn't unusual for my joints. They usually crunch and click, but it was quite a heavy crunch and click. But yeah, I got really shaken up yesterday, and then of course after all that being chucked out of the chair and everything, travelling back home in the chair, I was really paranoid and really anxious. Like every little bump I went over, I was kind of got really scared and thought I was going to fly out of the chair again. So when I got home, I was just sort of like, thank God I'm home, you know. But it's just trying to travel in a wheelchair on public transport is a nightmare. I mean, the wheelchair itself is really good. It's given me a bit more freedom back and a bit more independence. But the only problem now, and I don't want to sound like I'm being nasty, but the only problem now is able-bodied people. You know, that's the problem I have now. Their misunderstanding of disability and their ignorance over it and their lack of common sense, to be honest. And I know not every able-bodied person is like that. I'm not saying they are. It's just lately I've dealt with so much of it, you know. And like, people don't seem to understand how a wheelchair works. You know, like, one, a wheelchair cannot turn on the spot, cannot turn on a penny, you know. It's not like that. They have wide turning circles. And two, they're bigger and wider than they look. So getting through doors, getting past people, getting onto buses, I need extra space. You know, no, they don't have conventional brakes like levers that you can pull that make it stop instantly. Which people don't, that's one of the main things people don't seem to get. And when it's on a slope, doesn't matter if there's brakes, it's still gonna slide. Especially when that slope is wet, you know. And one of the main things that has annoyed me is the general public telling me how I should be steering my chair and how I should be using it when they have no clue how the thing works. Which, like, one day I was at a bus stop and I was trying to get on the bus, and it was one of these shouter bus stops, and it had a bench and these people were sat on the bench, and I was sort of like parked out the way of the bench a bit, and the bus pulled up, and when the driver got out and put the ramp down, there wasn't much space to drive and manoeuvre around so that I was at a safe position to then wheel onto the ramp. There wasn't much space at all, and the space was taken up by the people sat on the bench and stood around the ramp. And the problem was, I needed those people to move out of the way for a few seconds so that I'd have the space to manoeuvre and get on the ramp safely. And I asked them politely, you know, you're going to have to move to give me space to get on the bus. And they just sat there and stared at me and just kind of ignored what I said. And I was like, look, you're going to have to move. I need to steer on the bus. And again, stared at me blank-faced. So I was sort of like, right, okay. So I thought, well, if they're not going to move, then I'm just going to go ahead and manoeuvre onto the bus. And if I run their feet over, it is their own damn fault. So I kind of manoeuvred round and was trying to, you know, get on the bus, and I couldn't get straight on, you know, straightened up on the ramp. And then, of course, one of the front wheels ended up coming off of the ramp, and the chair ended up going askew. And I was trying to right it, and I couldn't right it because then the back wheel was off of the ground and lost traction. So the chair wasn't going anywhere, no matter where I moved the joystick to. And the driver was stood there sort of like not knowing how to help properly, and was like, and he was trying to get the people to move as well. And he was like, look, come on, you're going to have to move. And they were all stood there staring, and they were ignoring him too. And then one of the members of the public at the bus stop decided he was going to step in and direct this situation. And he kind of walked up to me and he was like, look, you need to steer this way, you need to steer that way, you need to do... And I was like, I can't steer anywhere, I need space. And the driver knew that I couldn't steer anywhere, and the driver was trying to talk to this member of the public who was trying to be the helpful hero of the day, and was trying to say to him, look mate, step back, she can't steer anywhere. And then John just kind of got fed up with all this, so he started shouting, look, everyone move, this is a wheelchair, it needs space to get on the bus, you need to move so she can get on the bus safely. And of course they all took notice to John when he was shouting, and he had his big long black trench coat on, and he's quite tall, quite big, so he can be quite intimidating. And when he stood there in front of you with his voice raised, you can't really ignore him. So he was getting a bit politely pushy, I'd say, John was with them. And then they kind of moved out of the way, everyone did, and I was like, right, good. Then him and the bus driver were trying to pull the chair back up over the ramp and onto the pavement so I could steer round and get it correct. And while they were doing this, the member of the public, the hero of the day, was trying to direct the driver on what to do, direct me on what to do and where to steer and when to use my brakes. And John was trying to talk to this hero of the day and, you know, was saying to him, look mate, there are no brakes. Do you see any brake levers? And the guy was like, well, no, but aren't those buttons there brakes? And he goes, no, they're not. And he goes, but there's buttons there. And John goes, they're not brakes. They're to turn the speed up and down. And that's the on and off button. If we press the on and off button, she's not going anywhere. And he was sort of like, oh, but and John was like, just, you know. And finally we managed to get on the bus. And this hero of the day got on behind us and sat down. And then getting off the bus, the driver was there, and he got the ramp down, and I was coming off the bus, and of course, again, a shelter bus stop, loads of people stood right in the way trying to get on the bus as I'm trying to get off. And the driver said to him, look, you're going to have to wait a minute, the wheelchair's trying to come off. And I was like, yeah, come on, move, let me get off the bus first, then you can get on. And of course some of them completely ignored us, so I was like, screw it, and just went down the ramp, and went down with a little bit of speed, because again, it's a ramp, you know. And the hero of the day, could hear him on the bus kind of shouting out, use your brakes, you've got to use your... I was like... And I was just thinking, I want to so shout to him, you need to use your common sense and shut your fat mouth. But I thought, no, that would be rude. And I just kind of ignored it, you know. So, yeah, the main problem I'm having at the moment is able-bodied people and their stupidity. So, to able-bodied people, you need to learn how a wheelchair works. You need to learn how to understand disabilities. You need to learn that the disabled person knows more about their disability and more about their disability aids than you do, because they use them disability aids every day. You know, they know exactly how they work. They know how to steer the thing. You know, they know what they're doing. And another thing, when talking to a disabled person, do not speak down to them like they're a toddler. That's one of the main things I hate. I get that a lot. You know, and just basically, if you want to help a disabled person, that's amazing. I'm not trying to stop anyone from wanting to help. That is amazing. But it's the way in which you help that is the problem. Not the fact that you're trying to help. That's amazing. It's the way you're trying to help that is the problem. If you want to help, the best thing to do is ask the disabled person, do you need help? If they say yes, ask them then, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? And let them tell you, let them direct you on how you can help them the best. Don't assume you know better than a disabled person. Don't treat them like they're dumb because they're disabled, and you know, don't try and be hero of the day and, oh, look at me, I'm being helpful. Because to be honest, when you act like that, you're not coming across helpful. You're coming across like a dick. You're coming across like an ignorant, arrogant arsehole, you know. So if you want to be hero of the day, fair enough, cool, be hero of the day, but do it in a responsible, respectful way, you know. And bus drivers, please learn the health and safety rules of the ramp, you know. And all bus drivers are trained in how to use the ramp safely, but seem to be ignoring that fact in Southampton recently. So, you know, and it's hard to argue with a bus driver. It's hard to say to them, look, no, this is what I need from you. I need the ramp down. I need you to lower the bus. I need you to hire the bus. It's hard to do that because some bus drivers get very pissy and they have a go at you and they treat you like you're an inconvenience and whatnot. And I'm like, yes, I know I'm an inconvenience. I'm sorry, you know, but I need equity, not equality, you know. And that's where people get confused as well, between equity and equality. And I'll explain the difference now. Equality is where you treat every human being equally. So if there are stairs into a building and a disabled person in a wheelchair needs to access that building, equality would be saying to them, no, you can walk up the stairs like every other human being. That's equality. Equity is providing a ramp into the building for disabled people, giving disabled people the tools they need to get through life alongside able-bodied people, if that makes sense. Equity is making it fair and accessible to everyone, and that's what I want to be treated with. I want to be treated with equity, because I know that in some ways I'm not equal to other human beings, because other human beings can walk up 13 flights of stairs and not break a sweat. Me, I can't even climb one flight of stairs, you know, without wanting to pass out and nearly keeling over, you know. Other humans can run for a bus. I can't. You know, other humans can do a lot of things that I can't do, and I'm okay with that. That's cool. I've adapted, you know, but what I need is equality, equity. I need ramps to be provided for me to get in and out of buildings and get on and off buses and trains, you know. I need that equity, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to live in the world, you know. And it's the same with all disabled people. They need to be treated with equity, or they won't be able to live in society, you know. So that's what we need to do. And, you know, chuck equality out of the window when it comes to disabled people. I mean, equality works in the sense of in the workplace, payment in the workplace, you know, wages, paying a disabled person equal to an able-bodied person, equality, that works in that sense, you know. But when it comes to everyday life, like things like stairs and ramps and lifts and things like that, you know, you need to treat them with equity, not equality. But yeah, but this video has kind of been a bit of a rant, I think, but I'm still recovering from yesterday. I couldn't sleep properly, and like still really shaken up and like anxious and that. So, but yeah, my poor sister, like, I think she was the true hero of the day, catching me and lifting me and the chair. And the chair's not light. I know it's an iGo and it folds up, and it's supposed to be lightweight, and it is quite lightweight compared to conventional power chairs, but it's still quite heavy, especially for someone like my sister who's quite short. She's blind, and you know, she's quite short and dumpy, to be honest. And she has disabilities herself. She has issues with her neck and her shoulders and stuff. And she's blind, so. But you know, she was the true hero of the day today, because whilst all this was happening on the bus ramp, all the other passengers and people at the bus stop waiting to get on the same bus were just stood there gawking. They didn't bother saying, oh God, should we help? You know, they didn't bother trying to help at all. They were just watching the bus driver and my sister struggle. Even the bus driver for a minute was just stood there gawking, like, oh, are you okay? He didn't bother helping until he realised my sister couldn't ride me because she was stuck under the wheelchair and didn't have the strength to lift me. So he had to step in then to pull the chair up, you know. But yeah. Ugh. But I think for a few days I'm going to stay home and recover and relax. And I'm just glad the chair didn't get damaged at all. Even though it's insured for damage, which I think was a good idea, me getting the insurance on it, it's probably the best idea. But still, I haven't had it long, and I don't want it getting broken straight away, and I don't want to be making claims on the insurance this early, you know. But yeah. And I think I'm going to be starting a campaign for drop curbs in Southampton as well, in my hometown, because in the main area, or the shopping sort of area, where all the shops and the malls and all that sort of thing are, the drop curbs there are all good. They're all flush with the road, they're all brilliant. So once I'm in the town centre, getting around the town centre is easy peasy, no problem at all. It's just out of the town centre, sort of like in my area where I live. When I get off the bus, there's a drop curb, good one, that is flush to the road. But then on the other side, there is no drop curb, and it is a main road. So I have to go across the road and then go down the road, actually drive on the road, down and round next to the roundabout, and then down the road a bit more, and there's a drop curb up there. So I have to put myself in danger to get home when I get off the bus. And it's on a sort of blind corner where drivers think that it's a good idea to speed round there without indicating. And my partner John has been hit by a car a few times there. Luckily the cars he was hit by weren't going too fast, and they just kind of clipped him. But you know, and he wasn't seriously injured, so. But you know, and I've got to cross that to be able to get home, so I never cross that road on my own. Every time I come home on my own, if I've been out with my sister without John, I always call ahead when I'm on the bus to tell John to meet me at the bus stop to help me get across that road, because I don't feel safe doing it on my own. You know, and drivers have said to me, why don't you get off at the bus stop up the top by the shop? And I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. That would probably be safer in one way, but still I'd have to go along the road, and I'd have to go along a more dangerous part of the road where there are cars parked at both sides. So I'd have to be in the middle of the road where buses, lorries, cars are all coming both directions quite fast. You know, I'd have to be in the middle of the road to be able to get around the cars that are parked. So I'd hold up traffic, or I'd get hit by cars, because coming down from the shop, the drop curbs are really bad. So I can't actually get up and down those drop curbs. So again, still use the road. So I need to get onto my local council and figure out how I can start like some sort of campaign, maybe we'll start it on social media. I don't know, do some hashtags or something, and then maybe get a petition going. I don't know, but we need to sort out the drop curbs, definitely, and the potholes in the pavements and stuff, and as well the dum-dums who like to park their cars on the pavement so that wheelchairs and pushchairs can't actually get through, so they have to go down onto the road and drive around the cars, which they love to do in Seaweed Close. They love to park on the, which is the road, I come off the main road and into Seaweed Close to come along up Seaweed Close, and then there's a cutway that comes into the tower block area, which is where I live, and they like to park right along on the pavement, so I have to go on the road again. And Seaweed Close isn't really busy with cars coming and going, but still it's a bit of a blind kind of alley up there because of all the cars parked, so any cars that are coming up there aren't going to see me on the road until it's too late, you know. So, but yeah, it's, yeah, so I need to sort that out, because it is getting beyond a joke now and it is dangerous. So, but yeah, keep an eye out on social media for my campaign, and if you see it, share it, and everything as well. And as well, if you're a disabled person and you're facing the same issues as I am, with drop curbs and stuff like that, start your own campaign and petition in your part of the country, you know, and join in so we can get the drop curbs sorted out. But yeah, I think I'm going to end this video here because I'm going to finish my cup of tea and watch some TV because I am exhausted, but I cannot sleep. So I need to do something to keep my brain occupied and that. But yeah, thanks for watching me rant. And I will probably do a video in the next couple of days. But thanks for watching. I will see you all later. Bye bye.